And other news, real quick. So Laurie Harvey is back on the scene again. She, her and Damson Idris is calling it quits. Yo, bro, you gotta chill
There
out.
goes
with the
that
noise shit
news
in the
van
background,
again.
bro. This nigga over here, me. You gotta chill out, bro. All right, yeah. So Laurie Harvey is back on the prowl. She gonna look for her next victim because Damson Idris and hers over. Well, she got like what, a 6 month thing with a nigga?
like
Yeah,
a
but they said their
contract.
breakup was mutual.
No, but I feel like it's a contract. I feel like she is a socialite that dates, and I don't know whether she's sleeping with the man.
You think it's PR?
Yeah, I think she is. I mean,
Might be.
she's her mother's child, and with all due respect, I love Steve Harvey. That is Uncle Steve, but she is learning how to play the game, and she's young. She shouldn't have to be tied down. She can date a bit.
I'm not the fondest of Steve Harvey.
Really?
Yeah, I don't.
She's young. She don't. What?
Why should she be settled and tied down to anybody? She doesn't have to be.
I don't understand when people say that.
You got a daughter, right?
I have a 6-year-old daughter, a 16-year-old
Yes.
son.
You see, for me, when I hear, maybe because I look at you right in some sense, but then when I think about my kid, it's different, right? So sometimes it might be good for somebody else, it ain't good for mine, right? Like in my mind, that's how sometimes it just.
Well, you know what I always say? I always say the truest measure of right and wrong is what you would want for your children.
Well,
Right?
I will say
I don't
that
want
when
my daughter with 10, 15 different niggas
You
in
don't know
1
whether
year.
but we don't
I
know
don't
whether
give
she
up-
slept with all of the men, right?
She giving up that box, B.
She's not Black China. I think Black China was giving up the box when she was
Hey,
contracted
come
out
on,
with
see,
all these men.
you
But
guys, you
don't
talked about
necessarily
accountability
know
as soon as you
that.
came on. Be accountable.
Yes.
Be accountable.
Woman, where's your accountability?
I'm just saying we don't know what
She
she's
giving up
doing.
that
What I
twat,
know
B.
is for myself. For myself, I had my son at 19. I was married at 18. Hell yeah, I want my daughter to be better than me and not get married so young and be able to have a selfish
So
life,
question.
a single
So let me.
life.
But now let me
Yeah,
ask you a
probably.
question. Now let me ask you a question. Would you feel the same if your marriage would have worked out and everything would have been straight? Would you have felt the same?
I would have wanted her to take more time. I wouldn't have wanted her to do it at 18, 19
No, I'd
years
be
old.
lying.
If you want,
If
for
your
me,
shit worked out, you would have told her.
me personally,
Yes.
yeah,
Get married. Yes,
me
you
personally, I have 3 daughters, right? I have a 4-year-old, I have a 19-year-old, and I have a 25-year-old, and I just want my kids to find love. If they find love at 18, if they find love at 19, I don't give a fuck about none of that. You find a good person that you can spend the rest of your life with. Because even my 19-year-old, I sat down and I had this conversation with her because me and her mother broke up when she was, I think she was like probably 7.
Okay.
And I remember when we split, and my daughter at the time, I was in a relationship with someone for 4.5 years, and my daughter loved this woman. And when we split, I remember my daughter cried, and she was about 12 at the time. And I remember I sat her down and I said, listen, I need you to understand something. I said, I know that you watched me and your mother be together, break up. You watched me and such be together, and you watched us break up. But I need you to understand that this is not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to meet someone, you fall in love, y'all get married, y'all spend the rest of your life together. I don't want, just because you're watching me go through these ups and downs, for that to basically warp your perception of what it's supposed to be. And I think that that's what a lot of us do, right? I think it goes back to the conversation we were having before, where it's we kind of build our perspective of what life is from our bad experiences, not realizing that that's all they are, bad experiences, but it doesn't mean that the other side of that doesn't exist.
No, I didn't say love at a young age doesn't exist. I have a friend now, 2 friends that I went to high school with. They've been together since we were 16 years old. I'm 30, about to be 37. They've been together for 20 years. They have 2 beautiful children, beautiful careers, a beautiful home. I love that for them. That is not always the case. And I'm realistic enough to know that's not always the case. That level of maturity that women already have on top of men, having that and then growing into a certain field. I'm not who I was at 18 years old.
Correct.
There's no way that relationship that I had with my son's father could have ever grown, because as far as I've surpassed him, we would not have ended up right. However, I would not have gotten myself into a marriage that was unequally yoked. His family wasn't like my family. The dynamics and the mediocrity that he's content with living with is not what I wanted. And had I had waited long enough to get to know myself, I would not have been married to that
But
man.
see, but that's the thing. I don't think it's about telling your child not to marry young. I think it's about helping your child learn to decipher what a man who is ready for something like that is, because I think that's a big part of the problem with females. It's not about that there are no good men out there. It's just that women aren't good at deciphering who's a good man and who's not.
I think women have to, fuck men for a minute. No offense, right?
No, he wants women to fuck men. So
I definitely do.
I'm more concerned with teaching my daughter how to figure out who she is. Like I said,
Definitely.
I'm 36 years old. Within the last 6 years is when I've started figuring out who I am. So before I'm ready for her to decipher what a good man is, I want her to decipher who she is. Because then when you know who you are, you're able to attract somebody equally to you. That's what I mean. So if Lori Harvey, I don't know what she's doing. I don't know why she's doing it. It looks like it's
she said, I don't know why she's doing it.
I don't know why she's doing it, you know, because shit, Michael Jordan is a fucking catch. Or is he? Damson Idris is a catch, or is he? Just because these niggas are some, you know, movie stars that look like they're doing the right thing, does that mean that they're doing the right thing?
Question: do you? Not to cut you off, Styles. I'm not sure if you study the Church of Kevin Samuels, but
God rest his soul.
God rest the soul of the Godfather. But do you believe in the concept of the female sexual marketplace value and it declining as a woman gets older?
I believe that's a societal thing. I believe we create these unfair expectations and circumstances, and that kind of falls in line with the whole Cheesecake Factory debate. The social media expectations on what we should and should not accept is based on what we are saying we're not going to accept.
Okay.
So Beyonce's mother got married at 60. Are you saying that Matthew was the only person she slept with? I don't believe so. I believe she was very discreet in it. It doesn't lessen her value because now she's divorced and she gets married another time.
But because Beyonce's mother did it and it worked, I mean, would
I'm
that
just
mean
using her as
would
an
that mean
example.
that we're using the exception as the rule? Because nothing in life is 100%, and even though 90% of the time it may work out, it may not work out. 10% it may.
Nothing is going to work out 100%.
Exactly.
But what will work is that you choose yourself every fucking time. I'm going to bet on me every time.
No, I'm just listening to y'all. I just let y'all go on for a second because if you go back to our beginning of the conversation about, you know, what's a real nigga or real man, right? It's so many different variables that y'all just came up with, and that's to my point earlier, right? Like I was like, just because a real man, somebody would say a real man don't cheat. There's so many different variables, a different type of people y'all just described. It's too, you can't identify once again what's real and what's not real, right? But I want to speak to this, what you just saying. You know, I'm a dude that I date, and you know, I date several women at a time. Sometimes I date just one. You know what I mean? Until I desire to be married though, right? Mm-hmm. But with my daughter, he could tell you. I talk to my daughter about everything. I don't hide nothing about who I am from my kid. She knows what's happening with me. She knows what's not happening with me, with who happening, and she know, you know what I mean? But then she got her mother, which me and her mother is like best friends, right? Her mother's married, got a successful relationship with her husband, and then she gets to see that, right? And I think that we both taught, not only we both taught, because I won't even say we both, I would say the village. Whether Mo was a part of my village, whether my brother, my mother, the village already's been teaching her who and what she needs to be, and she's been figuring out who she needs to be in that same thing. Because she'll tell me, Dad, I'm never dating a guy like this, or do this what you do, or what mommy do. Like, she already know what she wants.
What the standards are for her.
Right? So my thing in that, saying that, then only thing I got to tell her, yo, this is the type of man that you should have, right? And these are the qualities from me that you should take from me that I think you should have. But there's also qualities from your step-pops. There's also qualities from your uncle.
As it should be.
And you need to figure that melting pot out and figure out what you need to be. Because now she can already identify, kids know what the fuck is happening, right? They know what's happening out there. They can identify, nah, I ain't doing that. Or how many times your mother did something or your uncle did something? I'm never being like my mother. I think one of the reasons why I'm in my daughter's life the way I was, because my father wasn't there with me. So I identify, I didn't want that for me, so I didn't have that for my daughter. Right. So I think if your daughter is probably going to be fine, and I think you got to be concentrating on what type of guy that you need to have in your life.